Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jensen with CCJ 3701, Research Methods in Criminology. These last few videos are going to show you how to start to put these skills together on your resume and think about job searches and strategies for moving forward after this class is over and after you begin to finish the degree. Many of you are graduating seniors, you're almost done, and it's time to articulate all these things you've been able to do on your resume and compete for jobs or for graduate study or law school. These next few videos are intended to do just that, to help you be more competitive. So we will jump on in. So many of you, again, are taking this class as a required class for your degree, and you're kind of finishing up your last year or maybe last 2 or 3 semesters. What's criminology about? You have to be prepared to articulate this to your future employer or graduate school or law school. You studied criminal behavior, you examined groups and social institutions, you understood human interaction, life cycles, populations, and all kinds of social phenomena that have to do with crime. This is just a little bit about what you've been able to accomplish. So as of 2017, there were 381 bachelor's degrees in criminology in the United States. So you were in one of those degree programs. And if we come over here, this tells you a little bit about your peers. So every year we award a little over 8,000 total degrees in criminology. We have a kind of average tuition rates of what that would cost. Note that UF is actually highly competitive in keeping tuition low for their students, which is kind of nice. Average wage for criminology graduates is $87,851. That's growing and increasing. We're going to see more and more development and growth there. There are 3.53 million people in the workforce in criminology careers, and the average age is 43. So we're going to look at this a little bit more. This information comes from Data USA. It's one of my favorite websites to look at majors. So the locations with the highest concentration of criminology graduates are Tampa, Florida, College Park, Maryland, and Irvine, California. UF is also very high on the list. So if we scroll down, you can start to see how we contribute to all the criminology graduates. So most graduates are coming from Maryland, South Florida, California, Irvine. Okay, so they're awarding quite a few degrees each year. University of Florida, we award about 215 degrees every year. So there are 215 of you getting ready to graduate, which is pretty exciting. A few other universities that are fun to look at as far as criminology graduates, but you can look at that later if you'd like. Tuition, again, we keep our tuition pretty low, which is kind of nice. I'll move this over a little bit so you can see. So we mentioned that number earlier. Okay, so now then, let's talk about some of the career options down here. Specialized colleges, you'll find them in a few places, Virginia and so forth, but I'm going to move over into, degrees awarded by county, and this is where you start to see, there's some of the counties that have the California schools and so forth. Here's Tampa down here. Growth in degrees, employment, information on the businesses and industries that employ social science graduates, criminology graduates. You actually get to see a little bit of this. So first of all, we see some of the big areas where people do well is with lawyers, judges, magistrates, and other judicial workers. You also have miscellaneous managers. Some people actually go into teaching. And then, of course, you have chief executives and legislators, and that's people heading more into the law route. This starts to show you where we see the highest paying areas in the United States when it comes to people with criminology and social science jobs. So you can see over here, we actually have some areas near Miami and Miami Beach, as well as Clay County and St. Johns County, which is kind of nice. Okay, and if you're looking at other places in the United States, these are again some of the higher wage areas to look at. Okay, so occupations, the most common ones we see again in the law field. We also see people going into kind of analytical and economics type jobs, law enforcement for sure. And we'll just scroll down here. So this kind of shows you the percentage of people going into different areas. And recognize too that social science degrees can be very broad. Here we have police officers down here. And so some people use them for lots of different kinds of jobs out there. industries, we have legal, we have pharmaceutical, we have household, this and that, and whatever, legal services, and so forth. Here's kind of the workforce age. Again, average age was 43. These are the degrees. So most people in criminology are working with the bachelor's degree, okay? But realize that many go on to the master's degree or a professional degree, which would be like a PhD or an LLM or a JD, or maybe a medical doctor or so forth. This is gender, kind of how we have most common gender with the degree in this field. So most people that study criminology tend to be male, although in some other places it's more females. And then we look at racial groups. Most students that study criminology are white, but we also have Latino, Black, Asian, multiracial that find this major very popular. And this is race and ethnicity by gender as well. The global diversity of criminology, lots of criminologists in India, Mexico, and China, but that kind of goes more with their populations, their highly populated countries. Data on the distinctive skills necessary in criminology. You need the analytical skills, and those are some things that you have learned in this class. So right here, you have to learn how to do troubleshooting, analytical work, science, mathematics, writing, and so forth. These are the kinds of things that we saw in our class, where you have to actually make lots of decisions that really relate to these types of skills. Okay, so a lot of communication skills, analytical skills that you developed. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back to our PowerPoint. Whoops, not that one. That's for terrorism. When you look at social science majors, these are the major industries that we have. So often people will teach with an advanced degree. You can actually teach high school, community college, or universities. You go into human services and social work is another area. You have human resources management, social research and data analysis, which we will talk about a lot. Certainly public employment, government, nonprofits, and criminal justice specifically. So this is actually a slide from ASA, from the American Society of Sociology, but criminology is kind of a country cousin to sociology, and they are often offered together. So look at the kind of things that people said. This is a survey that was done. What can I do with a bachelor's degree? Wave 3. And it said, these are the concepts I learned in my degree that was very useful on the job. And the very number one concept was differences by race, class, and gender, which you've had classes that have studied that. Viewing society from an alternative or critical perspective. Current explanations about issues. These are all things that you've accomplished in this class as well. When you looked at a topic, considered different ways things can occur, you offered a theoretical explanation about them, and then tried to test ideas about how they worked. These are things that also came up in the survey when we've talked to graduates. Skills most often used on the job: working with people from other ethnic groups and cultures, working with others in teams, using computers to locate information, writing a report, leadership skills. You've written a very big report in this class, one that most undergraduates do not write, so you should be very proud of yourselves. By the way, I learned recently, too, that I'm teaching you some statistics that not even our first-year master's degree students have learned. So you're actually smarter than they are now. So feel really proud of yourself. These are the skills that graduates say should be taught: networking, writing grant proposals, employee relations, and doing project development. This is a quote that came up. I like that I'm able to refer back to these skills through fulfilling my degree and some of the specific things about that. So of course you chose criminology because you can make oodles of money, right? Well, if you really wanted to just make the most money in the world, you should have studied petroleum engineering. Okay, so these are majors. These are bachelor's degree majors with the highest earnings. So obviously most of the top of the list is the STEM fields like engineering, math, pharmacology, medicine, and so forth, and science. As you'll notice that sometimes the social sciences like social work, education, and so forth are more in the lower earnings, but I don't want you to think you can't make good money with criminology. You certainly can. It just depends on the kind of career you want to do. So let's go into some of those industries. So first, teaching with an advanced degree. Occasionally I have students that say, I want to do what you do, Jensen. I want to be a teacher. And I say, yeah, well, you can do that. It requires more education. So this starts to show you some of what we have to work with when you're considering this area. So median salary, $62,000 a year. It's got pretty good job growth. College is in pretty high demand, so that's kind of nice. And what do? We teach, advise, assess, research, publish, mentor. We do all kinds of stuff. So 70% of professors, and this doesn't change much year to year, work for colleges and universities, professional schools. 22% work for junior colleges. Professors are about 1.8 million jobs. Okay, but you have to find a balance between teaching your students, doing your research, and publishing your findings. Most have a PhD. However, a master's degree may be enough for some community colleges. So that starts to show you the preparation needed to do it. These are the kinds of jobs you look for once you start going out on the job market trying to find teaching with an advanced degree jobs. Okay, so these are the titles we have in academia. These kinds of areas are the places we tend to go. What if you wanted to teach with an advanced degree, teach high school? You certainly can do that. So the high school teacher, we obviously not as high earning, but with a master's degree, you can supplement that salary, and oftentimes you can supplement when you take on other tasks like coaching or advising in the school as well. This has a little bit more sluggish growth. You can teach criminology, sociology, and psychology at the high school level, but the demand is emerging. It's not as high. And these are taught more in private high schools than public high schools. Your pay can be increased to compensate for these other duties you can take on, and you need to have a teacher certification or licensing to do it. So you would have to go get, there actually are post-bachelor teacher certifications you can do if you didn't do a teaching bachelor's degree. Human services. So human services is really a huge field. It works with all kinds of populations, including inmates and probationers, people in drug court, people who are addicted, elderly, children, and you go into all kinds of things like victimization and offending. And so the human services area is an area that intersects with criminal justice all the time, and some people find that really appealing to work in. So you get that emotional paycheck, right? So you kind of feel like you're helping the world. It can be very emotionally and physically taxing and low paying. It has a kind of a lower starting salary, but again, if you move up into administrative or management positions, that can increase for you. It's segmented according to community demographic. You have protective services for adults, you have protective services for children, you have some for immigrants, and so forth. And so you would look at lots of different employers that actually work on services for those populations. And then again, you'd want to determine which concern you're looking at the most. They require the professional qualifications. You may have to get a license to practice. Most of the time this requires a Master of Social Work degree like I have, and then you go get licensed by a state. If you want to do kind of individual level practice therapy or outpatient kind of stuff with groups, which I have done, then you'll have to get licensed and so forth. So there really is fantastic job growth here. So we're hoping that that also is accompanied by a little bit better wages because of the growth, especially as people are aging, and we need to have more services available for them as they age. So that's kind of human services in a nutshell. Occasionally people go into human resources because, again, these skills lend themselves to an analytical and relationship kind of stuff. So this is the world of hiring and firing, salary and benefits, training, development, data management, which you've had a significant amount of experience doing, workplace change, and conflict resolution. So the nice part is every company has HR. And so you could kind of work anywhere you want. You could pick a company you really like and try to get into their HR staff. You need to get relevant experience, be ready to explain the value of your degree, and identify the settings that it fits well within. Really great earning potential here with the bachelor's degree. So that's one area to consider. Kind of modest job growth, but not bad. And realize most human resource managers actually come from government. So don't fail to check the government postings for human resource jobs. I'm going to wrap it up here for part 1, and I'll continue in part 2.